Hola estudiantes, en este video vamos a explorar cómo aprender español escuchando historias. So in this video we're going to explore how to learn Spanish listening to stories. A big part of this course will be listening to stories, reading stories, whether it be books, textbooks, online videos, podcasts, documentaries, TV series, movies, you name it. Any of these texts really are like stories, and we'll be interacting with them quite a bit in this class, and it can be a pretty great way to learn the language. This blog is from a Spanish teacher, and it begins with the question, ¿Alguna vez has deseado no tener que aprender reglas gramaticales para aprender español? At any time, have you ever wished to not have to learn grammar rules to learn Spanish? Many people find that a fun way to learn the language, learning grammar, and the structure of the language. A lot of people think that's what you have to do to learn a language, right? Is get a good grammar book and a good professor, and you'll learn the language. However, that's not always necessary to learn a language, and oftentimes you can learn languages with storytelling combined with study of vocabulary and grammar and the other aspects of the language as well. So in this class, you'll interact with a lot of stories. And so the question here asked by this blog is, ¿Por qué son buenas las historias para aprender español? Why are stories good for learning Spanish? And what is a story? A couple different examples. Si una persona te cuenta una experiencia personal, esa podría ser una historia. If someone tells you a personal experience, this could be a story. O si escuchas un audiolibro, esa podría ser otra buena historia para mejorar tu español. Or if you hear an audiobook, this could be another good story for improving your Spanish. And like I said, there's many examples of stories in this type of classroom and in your real-world interactions with Spanish language. And so one important thing about stories is that las historias crean emociones en los seres humanos, lo que significa que si escuchas una historia acerca de una persona muy mala, probablemente vas a sentir desprecio o incluso rabia en contra de ese personaje. So stories create emotions in human beings. Right? So if you hear a story about a very bad person, like a villain, you'll probably feel against that person, right? You might feel some kind of angst against that character. And that can be a good way for remembering language, remembering vocabulary, and having that personal connection to stories. And so this blog goes on to talk about 4 pasos para aprender español escuchando historias, or 4 steps for learning Spanish through stories. The first one is to asegúrate de entender toda la historia. Make sure that you understand all of the story. And so sometimes you'll have to get out there and look for things like la transcripción, or the transcript of a story. Sometimes you can read it out and find the written words of a story if it's something you're listening to or watching. Los subtítulos, like a video will have subtitles. If you click settings on most YouTube videos, for example, you can find subtitles. Sometimes you can even subtitle into other languages and do some translations. You can also find el texto, or you can find the text online. You can use Google, or you can use other search engines to find out more about the story that you're learning about. You might even use translation tools like Google Translate or ChatGPT, the LLMs and AI tools for translating parts of the story that you don't understand. So that's that first step. Asegúrate de entender toda la historia. Try to make sure you understand all the story. Number 2, repite varias veces la historia. Repeat the story various times. So here they give you different ideas for listening to the story at different times of your day. Escucha 15 minutos en las mañanas. Listen for 15 minutes in the morning. 15 minutos en la tarde, 15 minutes in the afternoon, y 15 minutos antes de dormir, or 15 minutes before you go to bed. So listening over and over and repeating stories can help you understand them. That's great for Spanish or really any English, or any language, including English. Number 3, escucha la historia en diferentes tiempos. So listen to the story in different times, or listen in different verb tenses. So you could find a friend who speaks Spanish, or you could use tools like AI and ChatGPT to change the story to the presente, pasado, o futuro, to the present, past, and future. So you can kind of change the verb tenses of the stories to help you practice listening in different verb tenses, and that can help you understand more of the story as well. And then finally, number 4, responde preguntas y respuestas acerca de la historia. So respond to questions and responses about the story. You can make your own questions as well, right? So if it's a story about, the story titled Juan toma café, you might ask questions. ¿Qué toma Juan? What did Juan take, or what did Juan have? ¿Quién toma café? Who had a coffee? Diego toma café o Juan toma café? Who took the coffee? Diego or Juan? And then Juan toma jugo o Juan toma café? Did Juan have a juice, or did Juan have a coffee? So those are pretty simple questions, just for example, but you can ask yourself, who, what, where, why, when, and different questions about the story to help you understand it even better. So these are a few different ways that you can learn Spanish through stories. A big part of this class will be reading, listening, and watching different texts, different stories, summarizing them, and then presenting our own stories in presentations for the different projects. So this can be a helpful introduction on how to learn through stories. Adios.